Hello guys, welcome to learning microcontrollers. In this video I'm going to show you how to interface a PIC16F877A microcontroller with an Nextion touch screen or Nextion HMI. I will show you how to turn on LEDs using the Nextion touch screen. We will have touch buttons on the Nextion screen, and we will program the PIC in such a way that whenever those buttons are pressed, PIC will turn on and off LEDs as we desire. So let's get started. So this is a Nextion touch screen I'm going to use. It's a 2.8 inch Nextion touch screen. But great thing about Nextion is that no matter the size of the touch screen you are using, the interface is exactly the same. The programming is exactly the same. The way of interfacing this with a computer or Nextion editor software or with a microcontroller is exactly the same. Now this is the bottom side of this touch screen. Now as you can see, on the right is the model number, on the left is the port. This model number you write it down on a piece of paper because you will need it when you will use a Nextion editor software, because you have to select the touch screens whichever you are using. So this is the model number you have to look there for. And on the left is the port. Now let me show you what is the labeling here. Although it is already mentioned here, the top one is a 5V pin, the third from the top is the RX, the second from the top is a TX, the fourth pin from the top is the ground pin. So this shows that this is a UART based interface, but we cannot interface the Nextion touchscreen directly with a PIC16F877A microcontroller. First of all, we will need to burn an interface, or you can see a touch display interface or a firmware before we can continue with a PIC. For that purpose, you will need to connect this touch screen with a computer so we can interface with the Nextion editor software. For that purpose, you will need any USB to TTL device. I am going to use this USB to TTL device called CH340. You can use FT232 or any other device available. I am using this because it is easily available at my place. Now as you can see, this is the top view of this USB to TTL device CH340, and this is the bottom view. Now you can see that it is already labeled on the bottom. I am again going to label it here. The top one is a 5V, the next from the top is a VCC pin, the third from the top is the 3.3V pin, the fourth from the top is the TX pin, fifth from the top is the RX pin, and sixth from the top is the ground pin. Now let me show you how to connect this with the Nextion touch screen. 5V pin of the CH340 device will go directly to the 5V pin of the touch screen. The TX pin of the CH340 device will go to the RX pin of the touch screen, and the RX pin of the CH340 or any USB to TTL device will go to the TX pin of the touch screen, and then ground will go to the common ground. In this way, our connection from the CH340 USB to TTL device to the Nextion touch screen is completed. Now after interfacing this with a computer, I am going to use a Nextion editor software to make the background go white, and I will initialize these 6 objects on the screen. These 2 are the text boxes, these 4 are the buttons. I am going to use the 2 LEDs. When you press this button, first LED will turn on. When you press this button, second LED will turn off. When you press this button, first LED will turn off. When you press this button, second LED will turn off. So for that purpose, we will need to interface the Nextion editor software, and will need to connect this using CH340 device touch screen to the computer. So let me show you how to do this. This is a hardware. As you can see, this is the hardware I am using here. This is the touch screen, 2.8 inch. This is a USB to TTL device. As you can see, I had shown you in the presentation. This is the touch screen I shown you in the presentation. It is exactly the same. On the left you have this thing called a port, and on the right you have your model number, as you can see that. And this is the USB to TTL device CH340. You can use any device available at your place. That's not an issue. So guys, I connect this with a computer. See, this is our computer USB pin, like this. Now it's connected. Now we can get to the Nextion editor software to burn the interface. For that purpose, what I do is that I go to the Google. Let me show you again how to do it. Just go to the google.com. You write down Nextion editor like this, and it will lead you to this page. Download Nextion, click on Nextion editor, and this will lead you to this Nextion website. Here on the left you have this button, download exe or zip file, whatever suits you. You download and install the software. It's a free software, you do not need any crack or anything like that. Simply download and install. Then you will get this icon on your desktop. You run this. You can see the Nextion software is running. Let me get the magnifier so I can zoom it in for you. So this is a window magnifier. So when you run it, you get to this window. You go to the file on the left, click on new, write down the name of the project, Nextion LM1. Click on save. It will lead you to this window. That is why I told you to write down the model number written on the bottom side of the PCB. This is the model I am gonna use. So I click on it and click on OK. Now you need to select your initial display direction. I want it in the horizontal format, so click on 90 or 270, whatever you like this. Now this is the window you get after this. In this window, this center part, this white path is your screen. Whatever you do here will be transferred to the screen when you click on this upload button. Now what I want to do is that, as shown in the presentation, I will need 6 objects, 2 text boxes, 4 buttons. So I click on the text. There we get our text box, but there is nothing written on it. We need to initialize a font. Go to the tools, font generator, and then you simply get this window. Here select whatever size of the font you want. I want 32, it's fine. Right, select any type of writing you want. I select this, I make it bold. I write the name of the font you want, bold 111. Click on generate and save it. If you save it, you can later simply load it. Simply save it. Okay, it's generated. Auto add it. That's great. Now you have generated a font. Go to the left here, click on this font. You get this ID0 bold 4 times once. That is the one we just generated. So go to the right here in the attributes. You can see that font 0, ID0. Here ID0. If you have more fonts, they will have different IDs. Whatever the ID you have is the one you select here. So you can have that font initialized on the respective text box. See, the font I selected here is the writing style now. Now this BCO is the background color of the text box and PCO is the writing style of the text box, writing color of the text box. I want the background color to go black and writing to become white like this. See, now I change the text. For that, go down. Here you have this TXT column. You write the text whatever you want. I want LED 1. See, our new text is being written. I move it in the center like this. Now I want the buttons on and off. You select this, resize it, whatever the size you want. I make it smaller like this, and also more smaller like this. Change that. Now here you can see we have BCO, BCO2, PCO, PCO2. Unlike the text button, you have 4 options here. This BCO is the initial button state when the button is not pressed. Its background is gray, and PCO is the writing is black when the button is not pressed. BCO2 is when the button is pressed. It will be green. When the button is pressed, this button will turn green. And PCO2 is white. It means when the button is pressed, writing style will turn white. While when the button is not pressed, it's gray and black. And when it will be pressed, its background will be green and writing will be white. I make some changes. In the initial state, it's light green and the writing color is black. That's great. And when it is pressed, it turns blue and the writing color is also black. That's great. And the text should be TXT on like this. See, now you copy it and place it wherever you want. I want to place it right next to it and rename it to off like this. Now this is the off button and this is the on button. Copy all 3 boxes, paste it and align it as well like this. Now they are pasted. Rename it to LED2. Go click on it, go back on the text, make this 1, 2 and press enter. See, now this is a display I just made here. Now I want to transfer it to the hardware. So I click on this upload button. You click on the upload button, auto search, baud rate 115200, that is the default baud rate. Click on go. Now let me show you the hardware. You can see that it is doing something. Let me turn it up. See, it is burning the new firmware. You can see that the new firmware is being burned. Let it burn. Whichever objects you place in that white box will come to the screen as it is. Now see, we got the firmware. You click on the text button, you get nothing, but when you touch this button, it shows two colors. Now the second color is the BCO2. See, I made it blue and black, so it is blue and black. When it's not pressed, it's normal, and when it's pressed, it goes blue and black like this. So guys, that's how it's gonna work. Now before we continue, let's get to our PIC programming. After you had burned your firmware, now we can connect this. We will rewire it. We will now remove all the wires from the CH340 USB to TTL device and connect them to the PIC. Now how to connect this LCD to the PIC? This is the top side and this is the bottom side. On the bottom you have like 4 pins. On the left side 5 volt, TX, RX and ground, as already told you before. And on the now how to interface with the PIC, you will need to rewire it to connect it to the PIC, and let me show you how. You will connect 5 volt pin directly with the VCC pin. TX pin of the touch screen will go to the RX pin of the PIC, and that is pin number 26 of the PIC16F877A, port C, pin C7. And the RX pin of the touch screen, that is the RX receiver pin of the UART protocol, will go to the TX pin of the PIC16F877A, and that is the pin number 25 of the PIC16F877A microcontroller. Now the ground pin will go to the common ground of the PIC16F877A. You can use the pin number 12 or 31 as you like. Now guys, this is the simple connection. It's complete. In this project I'm gonna turn on and off LEDs. So for that purpose I will use these two LEDs. I will connect them using 220 ohm resistor, so to control the current so they don't get burned. So one LED I connect it using a 220 ohm resistor. I connect the longer pin of the LED to one end of the 220 ohm resistor, and the other end of the 220 ohm resistor will go to the pin number 19 of the PIC16F877A, that is port number D, pin number 0. And the other pin, that is the smaller pin of that LED, will go to the common ground. Now the second LED, one pin will go, that is the longer pin of the LED, will go to one end of the 220 ohm resistor, and the other pin will go to the port D, pin number D1, that is pin number 20 of the PIC16F877A. You can connect LEDs at any available pin. I am going to use these two pins. Now the other pin, that is a shorter pin of the second LED, will go to the ground of the PIC16F877A. In this way our hardware is complete. Now as told you before, on the touch screen I will have these 6 objects, and whenever I press the on button, LED 1 should turn on. When I press the off button, LED 1 will turn off. When I press the on button for the LED 2 will turn on. When I press the off button, it should turn off. That's simple. But before we continue, let's get back to our Nextion editor software. We will need to make some certain changes. So guys, this is our Nextion editor software. You can see that we burned this, but how the microcontroller will know that on is being pressed, off is being pressed? We have no way of knowing this. Before we rewire it, we need to make a change. That is button B0. It will send right down in this touch or release event, whatever you like. I will write in the touch event, program it, print A. So what is going to happen is that whenever this on button will be pressed, and char A will be sent to the PIC16F877A using the UART pin. Then we will program this A, that PIC has received the A. Now turn on the LED 1. This A means turn on the LED 1. Similarly, copy paste it. Simply copy this command, click on off, that is B1, and you paste it here. Make it some other letter B. So for this B, now we know that whenever B is received on the UART protocol, PIC has to turn off the LED 1. That's great. Now we again copy it, click on of the second LED, make it C. Now the PIC knows that we will program it such a way that whenever C is received, PIC has to turn on the second LED. Similarly, copy it, click on off, paste it. Now we make it D. So whenever D is received, PIC will be programmed in such a way that it knows that LED2 has to be turned off. Now to test this, click on this debug button there. You debug it, it will show you if there is an error. There is no error. Now we test it, click on, see, it shows that it is sending 61, that is equal to A. We click on LED1 off, it's 62. In a hexa, 62 means B in char. On LED2, that must be C. Now off, it's T. So our simulation is working exactly fine. We had programmed a Nextion touch as well for our PIC microcontroller. Now again, you have to do a simple job. In the toolbar, click on upload. Again, update your code. Click on go. Go back to the hardware. You can see that it is changing the code. It's now changed. Now you cannot see that it is sending A, B and C whenever it is touched, but PIC will be able to recognize it. Now we need to remove these wiring and connect it to the PIC as shown in the presentation. So let's do that. So guys, this is our hardware for the PIC. Now you can see that this is rewired as shown in the presentation. Now I had connected with the PIC16F877A microcontroller. I'm using a 20 MHz crystal, and these are the LEDs which will turn on and off as required by our programming. So guys, before we continue, let me show you how to do the programming. You turn on your MikroC for PIC software. You click on it. Use any MikroC for PIC project, but remember to use the correct syntax. I'm going to use this 7.2.0 version for this programming. You can use the latest versions as well. They have same method of programming as well, while the previous version before 6 have somewhat different. So let's do with the MikroC for PIC programming. Guys, this is our MikroC for PIC software. Click on file, new project. You click on next here. Write down the name of the project. I write Nextion touch learning microcontroller like this. Select the microcontroller PIC16F877A. I'm using a 20 MHz crystal. Select the crystal whatever you are having. Click on next. Okay, in these newer versions you cannot give spaces in the name. You have to use these slashes, so be careful. In the previous versions you can go without these slashes, but in the newer versions you cannot do this. So now see no error. Click on finish. You get your first window like this, starts from void main. Start writing the code here. We will need the UART pin. Write down the UART 1 I and IT. Baud rate I'm going to use is 9600 like this, because the default baud rate for the Nextion display is 9600. Let me zoom it out. Next thing is we are using two LED pins on the port D as shown in the presentation. Since we are not using any other port D pin, so we only need two pins. Port D.TRISD.F0 equals to 0. It becomes an output pin. Initial state of the pin port D.F0 equals to 0. Initially it must be off. Give some initialization delay. MS 100 will be fine. That's a good practice to give some initialization delay, else you can go without it. With few controllers it works, but with PIC16F877A it sometimes malfunctions. Now for the second pin, that is D.F1, initial state is also 0 and delay is same. Also give some initialization delay for the UART port to initialize like this. Okay, save it. The newer versions it asks you to save again, and in the newer version you have to go to the MikroC's libraries, and there is no, you can see none of the library is selected on auto. We are using a UART library, so check mark it yourself. Now there will be no error. So now we can go to our forever loop. We got the two LEDs initialized, we got the UART pin initialized. Write down while 1 From here your forever loop starts and here it ends like this. In the forever loop, first of all we will need to read the char character. As told you in the Nextion editor software, we will get A, B, C and D values. We need to first of all, before doing anything else, need to deal with it. So for that purpose we will need a char character in which we will read the data, like read 1, char read 1. So go to the UART library here, UART1 read, double click it. In the example you have this example, copy paste it, simply copy it till here, go back, paste it here like this, make it whatever you are using here, you simply copy paste it, read 1, it will read the data. Give some initialization delay ms 50 will do fine. Okay, that's great. Now read 1 will read the data. Now what happens is that read, if we use the if else conditions, if read 1 is double equal to, you can say A, we had received an A from the LCD, then what it should do, it should turn on the LED on port D.F0. You copy it, paste it here, it will turn 1 and it should remain on for some time, like delay ms 50 will do fine. Okay, now that is our first condition. If A is, you can see D.F0, okay, that's fine. If A is, you can see A is received, LED 1 is turned on, that's great, that is what we just needed. Now again copy paste this loop and add an else if, and else if read 1 is B, then it should do the opposite. Port D.F0 will be turned off, their first LED will be turned off. Now again copy this else if, again place it down. If a C is received, it means the second LED at the port D.F1 should be turned on. That is what we just did in the Nextion editor software. Now again, if our fourth condition, if D is received, what it should do, it should turn on whatever the LED is attached to port D.F1, it should be off. That is A, B, C, D. A means LED 1 on, B means LED 1 off, C means LED 2 on, whatever is at F1. See, it was LED 1, this is LED 2 on, and D means LED 2 off. We click on build button, see if there are any errors. Let's see. Okay, it shows error with a delay. See, in the newer versions you have to be careful with the capital and small letters. You cannot write delay with a small letter. Again click and see what happens. See, it is successfully burned. Our code is ready to go to our microcontroller. Now we go to the PIC 3.5 burner software. You select your microcontroller PIC16F877A. Here select the code you want to send here, import the code. Okay, we just wrote the code by this name, Nextion Touch Learning Microcontroller. Double click, click on write. Our new code is being written. Let me show you on the hardware. Our new code is being written on the hardware. See, it's written. Okay, the new code is written. Now let's test it. As I told you earlier, this is the screen and those are the LEDs over there. I click on. See, one LED turns on. I click on this. Second LED turns on. I click on off. First LED turns off. I click on here. Second LED turns off. I click on for the second LED. Second LED turned on. Now I click on the first LED. First LED also turns on. I click on off of the first LED. It's off. It's off. Second LED also turns off. Again I do the same. I turn on the second LED. I turn off the second LED. I turn on the first LED. I turn off the first LED. See guys, our programming is working as shown in the presentation. It's working exactly the same way. So this is very simple to use touch screen if you know the proper way and follow the proper syntax. See, it is working as desired. So I turn on both the LEDs. LED 1 is on, LED 2 is on. You can see that both LEDs are on. Now I turn off both LEDs one by one. Off. First LED is off. Second LED is off. So guys, this is it. This was a simple tutorial. I hope you will make some good project out of this knowledge. I hope you learned something from my video. Thank you very much for your time and interest in my channel. If you have any questions or queries, you can leave a comment below. So thank you very much for your time and have a nice day.